Hello everyone, my boxing friends. Today we are going to talk about movement, specifically about a boxing movement called the shuttle. What it is, how to do it, what the main mistakes are, and what a boxer needs to know about the shuttle in general. So watch and enjoy. Today we are covering movement in boxing, and one of the most difficult movements in boxing is the shuttle. It's not very easy. It comes with time. And for boxers, it comes over the years and comes with a specific understanding. Unfortunately, the shuttle doesn't suit everyone because in modern realities it is, very time consuming. It takes a very long time to master. It really is mastered until you get bloody blisters. It really is work that you do almost every day. It is, a very, very serious movement. But where does it start? It all starts with simple movements. That is, to understand what movement is, the first thing that is determined is your stance. That is how you stand. Because the stance is the foundation for your punch. Your punch is the calculation of movement for your legs. So everything is so interconnected that without one, you won't understand, the next. Until you learn to stand steadily, until you understand what weight transfer is, what body balance is, what it means to really stand in a braced position, in a punch, and be able to push forward, backward, left, and right. That is from the perspective of striking technique. Now look at how steps are formed in boxing. A boxing step can range from half a foot to a full foot in length. It always starts, as they say, to learn how to move. Pay attention to how you walk in everyday life. That is, everything is tied to this. In your normal life, a step is, equal to your foot, or maybe 1.5 feet when you pick up speed. Your legs, meanwhile, are always underneath you. This means your stance is already balanced on its own, meaning you can lean, tilt, and so on and so forth. You can do this with bent legs, you can do this with straightened legs, but you should always move as you do in everyday life. As soon as you understand what a stance is, your legs spread apart. It is advisable to position them so that they distribute your body weight roughly in the middle. Because when you walk, you don't walk like this, shifting your body weight around. Boxing footwork is just as much of a hidden component as the punching technique itself. That is, if you throw a punch invisibly, but your legs are making some kind of wave-like movements, or you're crouching and springing up, your movement will be readable. Therefore, a boxing step is just as hidden as the movement of the hand. So, in the shuttle movement, probably the very first thing that is instilled is, how should I put it? That is, it's a kind of twitchy style that leads you to the first strategy of deception. So, it's precisely with the shuttle movement that you will, as it were, feint and so on and so forth. Therefore, a lot of things here depend on the step. That is, your jump is a boxer's step that has already been formed. That is exactly as much as you, plan to do it. I repeat, distance is what determines it. That is, however far the opponent is, that's how many steps you need to take, and what kind of steps. Meaning you don't move like this, shifting your body weight. That's foolish. That is, you must always be positioned with your weight underneath you. Everything will depend on the combat situation. If suddenly they start pressuring you, then it is preferable for you to shift your body weight slightly forward so that you can fight back from there. And if a strike is coming at you so that you have, just in case, this moment, this body maneuver, so that you can also lean back and strike. Therefore, here your legs, as a rule, can stretch out. That is a little bit. When you are crawling backward, you can extend your back leg. That is, as my coach used to say, like a squirrel's tail. That is exactly what will steer you if you are moving backward. If you are moving forward, then the front leg does the steering. That is, forward, backward, left, right. These are the very first training steps when you start stepping out forward, backward, left, and right. This is also what constitutes your jump. That is, these exact formulated distances. A very important point. Why did I stand opposite the line? I mean, as I said, the way they teach it, these are the first basics of biomechanics. This is how your feet should be positioned to take the correct steps. If you stretch out and push off hard with this leg, you will inevitably move your back leg onto this line anyway, because otherwise you won't be able to get into the push. If you push off hard, your back leg will still end up moving to the line of your front leg. It's just impossible to do it any other way. The second point is that when you push off hard, well, let's say to the side somewhere, you will still be pursuing this notorious triangle that should be maintained between your legs. That is, the distance of all movements should still lead you to the correct position. If your movement is short, first of all, the back leg does exactly as much as the front one in order to return again to your striking stance. So what is a step? You stepped in, roughly speaking, struck and stepped out. Now, movement to conceal. All these movements, yes, well, once again, the defining moment is your foot, how it is placed, how it should be done correctly. Because on one hand, when you plant your heel, yes, it acts like a brake. If you look closely, yes, you can place it on the whole foot, or you can place it on the ball of the foot. Everything will depend on the form you find yourself in. If you need leverage, you will plant your heel and stop the movement, for example, when you've been pressed against the ropes. If you have more, well, flexible movement, then you will place the whole front part of the foot down. This moment of shock absorption in this part of the ankle is the most important thing. For the shuttle movement, it's basically, well, the main event, because you can't bend your knees too much. I mean, your thighs will just, well, die. You'll just overload them and won't be able to move. Therefore, to relieve this tension from your legs, your knee works as a consequence of the extension. That is, the stable part is here, and you are working right here. Because short, very short movements in the shuttle run, to formulate them correctly, that is, these step movements need to be learned on your toes, on just your toes, that is, on the front part of the foot. In the realities of a fight, it will be different. It will happen that you will plant your back heel, even though this, well, sort of contradicts everything. But from the movement of the heel, you can pivot onto your toe. Therefore, what many say is a mistake, yes, on one hand, but this mistake can give you, well, some kind of moment of inertia. Therefore, you can't really approach it in a black and white way, saying this is forbidden or that is allowed. You need to adapt everything to the system, well, to the combat system. That's why the best system, well, the one that is known, is precisely the shuttle movement, which is adapted to the combat system. Distances, spacing, speed, and so on and so forth. And here, it's about what works for you first. If you truly understand the mechanics of the step, then your movement will be precise, covering exactly the distance you need to reach your opponent. It is all about finding that perfect balance. Need more, you'll take more. Need less, you'll take less. So the very first thing you need to do is take your time to warm up this entire ankle system really well, ensuring everything is loose and ready for the movement ahead. Really warm it up very well. Now, regarding the transfer of body weight. That is, during movement, your weight, I repeat, stays under your feet, meaning it doesn't swing from left to right. If it does swing, it's literally, well, just a little bit during movement. And in a strike, it's the opposite, meaning it swings very, very quickly. Therefore, you can use your legs to adjust and then launch the machine of your strike. Once again, very, very well. Really knead it out, take your time, so you fully understand what you'll be moving on to next. You need to learn how to properly form this shuttle step, or these specific shuttle movements, including the jump. Because the shuttle step connects very well with other steps, and it works exceptionally well with all types of movement. It is a fundamental skill you should master. It really is the key to fluid motion. So, frontally, your own stance, the opponent's stance. To feel all of this, because you need to hide the movement right in the ankle. This movement. Now try to just bounce it out. And gradually changing from your own to the opponent's stance. This is the very first thing you need to understand. Now the first thing, take a step forward. Here's another point. I am really curious about your specific technique. When you are moving, how exactly do you do it? Do you roll your foot from heel to toe, or do you prefer to go from toe to heel? You can do it either way. You can do it either way. If, for example, you are just walking and walking on your heels, there is nothing wrong with that. From the toe, yes, from the toe is more correct. Why? Because this spring effect appears. If you lean on your heel, there can be no talk of any spring effect at all, because that's it. That's a stop, that's stability. Therefore, in some cases, when you take a step onto your heel, it already means that you are delivering a very powerful blow. That is, you are already delivering a powerful blow precisely with the placement of the heel. It happens that your heel sinks under the movement, which can also be used for a strike. Sometimes the toe is extended, and by applying pressure to the heel, you generate force, that is, by stretching into a line. Yes. This moment is also very important. Like I said, you need to understand everything, why everything is done. Now your task is to do everything on your toes for now. Do it softly so that you can engage this spring of yours. Step forward, step back. Step forward, step back. Now look, in boxing, it's very important regarding movement. That is, if you're going to dig your feet in like that, there can be no talk of any grace, and there can be no talk of any speed either. So you go ahead and form your step sort of, by bouncing, and you're sort of hopping forward and then backward like this, just to make sure that it's, even a little bit balanced, you know? How should I put it? It's really all about finding that steady rhythm while you're moving. A bit dance-like, maybe like you have this little hop. Well, not quite a hop and a step, not quite a step, but you're doing some kind of little bounce. You load it up because otherwise you'll be read too easily. And your movement, like this, slowly forward, backward. Now try walking left and right. Just walk. 1, 1, 1. I'm telling you again, guys, don't try to, shift your body weight right now. You don't need it right now. You aren't punching yet, you're just walking. Left, right. Look at me. Here's the movement. When you do it on your toes, you see, you can do it like this, kind of dancing. See? You can do it like this, you can do it like that. You can do it this way. As soon as your heel hits the floor, that's it. That's already an anchor, that's already a punch, that's already stopping the movement. Now watch. In boxing, it's not all forward and backward. In a fight, you move in different directions. That is, one step can be here, the second step can be here into a frontal position or onto the opposite leg. Already with the punch, you will be changing your punching position altogether. So look guys, so you don't get confused about this either, meaning which side is which, the legs are loaded equally. How does this happen in reality? Here you have a frontal stance, here you have the opposite stance, here you have a frontal stance again, here you have the opposite stance. Tell me, is there a shuttle movement in a frontal stance? Yes, there definitely is. I'm saying it again, that is, a shuttle movement isn't just this. Especially when they do it like this, they love to do it. They move one leg while the other stays in place. That's also called a shuttle. That is not a shuttle. A shuttle, I'm saying it again, it forms, like a very proper jump that comes with a punch, a lightning fast punch. That is, you feel the opponent so well that it, accelerates you. It's an explosive moment. It's such a, like a super movement that was used well and was drilled everywhere. It was drilled, ingrained, thoroughly. I mean, you come to boxing and the first thing they teach you is the shuttle. Until you learn these sensations. The shuttle is another point, proper relaxation. I mean, if you're tense while doing the shuttle, you'll get tired very quickly. I mean, my coach, when he was training me, I wouldn't do more than 30 seconds total per round in the ring, no more than 30 seconds. For everything else, I would switch to other things like moving with steps and so on and so forth. There are a ton of other options, even to the point where some of the time in the rounds is spent just standing still. Even to that extent, because like I said again, you have to learn to conserve your energy. That is what this system is for. Drop your arms completely now, relax them, so that you are completely relaxed during these jumps. This is how Soviet training used to start. Your legs are practically straight, almost straight, and your whole body was completely loose, so that you understand that the shuttle movement is partly an explosion, but also immediate relaxation. That is, if you get tired while doing the shuttle movement, such a shuttle, so to speak, won't lead to anything good. Therefore, at some phase, you are really, as it were, relaxing, removing the tension from yourself. At the same time, you are sort of preparing the charge like hop, hop, you jumped, hop, hop, you moved away, hop, hop. Now look, guys, if our step can be on one hand forward, on the other hand, for example, with the right foot to the side. Also, for example, you take one step back with your right foot. You can transition this leg into a frontal stance. That is, there are such diagonal steps, like for example, I extended my leg here, and I immediately place this one here. If, for example, I am moving forward, then with this leg I can move, that is, step to the side, so that I can already, start from the side to change this diagonal, to change the angle of the strike. So now look guys, move in all directions, in all directions. So sort of get a feel for these definitions of your directions in all directions with your legs. Just understand how it needs to be done. Step in all directions. Now, along all these directions that you've stepped through, try to just jump back and forth diagonally. Switch legs. Jump frontally. Now try to rotate your legs in a semicircle. Legs under you. Now look forward, keep looking forward. Just forward and forward again. Then look back and back once more. Watch your step now. Let's do it this way. What's good about the shuttle, right? Remember I said, yes, this distance, the range. That is, you can sort of stretch out, make big, long jumps, or you can use these small ones. And this is exactly where that hidden moment is, where you can play around. Look, my legs are practically straight. The knee only bends slightly to absorb this impulse. That's why you start. This is where you start to play. Once here, you need to pick up with a step. Once again here, to the side, to the side, to the side, frontally. Once loaded, went in these directions. Once went here. You see, right? That is, nothing is sliding anywhere here for me. And if I need to jump towards an opponent, I can do it very beautifully in several stages. That is, I jump here, say 10 centimeters, and jump back 3 centimeters, then forward again, a little bit back forward, a little bit back. That is, in this way I corner the opponent, press him, then immediately turned around, moved away, did a feint. Did you understand the task? Slowly jump in the direction of the steps you have paced out. Take your time with each movement and finish with a very small, light hop. Ensure each movement remains controlled and steady. Everything on your toes, guys. It is important to focus on your form and try to keep your legs synchronized. Stop. Now look, one more thing. There is this thing of shifting from foot to foot, right? Especially when, for example, you're forming a step, you're going from foot to foot, you're working from foot to foot. You load once, then you move away, you load. Now look at what the hop does. The hop is the impulse of the strike. That is, when you start approaching your opponent carefully, with small steps, you suddenly extend in that moment. And what is the explosive principle of the hop? It's that it's performed by all muscles simultaneously. That is, you time your strike exactly to this little hop of yours. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and you're gone. So guys, here is a really important point to keep in mind. Please don't try to spread your legs way too wide during the shuttle movement. All these fancy movements you see, you know, how the pros do it. That is really just to warm up the legs and get them ready for the actual work. So keep it controlled. That's not a shuttle. A shuttle is actually a footwork technique used to subtly twitch, feint, or hop in somewhere. It doesn't happen in one training session, it doesn't even happen in 2. It all takes years to form. Once again, you understand what a stance is. You understand what a step is. You understand what a jump is. And only then do you understand what a shuttle is. The movement itself is very comprehensive. It takes a lot of hours to master, to set it up, just to understand it, so that your knees don't move too much in certain places. If your knees are moving, they might even be caving inward at some point. You can shift your weight in a relaxed way, move away. And the most important moment in the shuttle movement is breathing. Because as a rule, all your jumps should rely on some kind of inhalation and exhalation system. And as a rule, if you are moving forward and you need to strike, you form the striking movement on the exhale. Ha 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 ha. and you start breathing in perfect time with the frequency of your jumps, well, I mean your shuttle jumps, it really becomes quite a rhythmic experience. Right now, just listen to your breathing. Slowly, slowly ease into it. You don't need to jump around too hard. Like I said, just do this movement on your toes and remember to keep breathing steadily. Hatanaha. It really is all about finding that rhythm and staying relaxed while you're at it. Don't bend your knees too much, guys. That would be a mistake, because if your knee bends too much, you'll overload your thighs. Instead, try to relax completely. Now gently try to make a smooth, fluid movement with your hand, perfectly in time with your slow exhale. Just stay focused, calmly, calmly, and relaxed. Ha, ha, ha. Take your time with each breath and movement, keeping everything nice and easy. And really try to explode into your movement on every fourth one, making it count. Ha, ha, ha. 1. Like an impulse. Ha, ha, ha. 1. Sharply. And as much as you need to jump up, you jump up and immediately bounce back. The amplitude of your jump is very small. Well, how small? Normal, as much as you need. Because if you do it with a large amplitude, your legs will spread apart, the support will be completely different, and the task will be completely different. Change your stance. Breathe, breathe, guys. Feel your breathing. That's why at first all of this is done very slowly, so that you understand why it's being done. Now for the next part of our routine, let's try a smooth side-to-side shuttle movement. If you're boys, well, those who are more experienced, you can gradually transition into a semicircular shuttle movement. That is not forward, not right, not left, but circling a little bit. The patterns of the shuttle movement are, as I said, very diverse. Once again, I'm talking about the combination with steps and jumps. The movements are very beautiful, very complex in terms of calculation, distance, range, and so on and so forth. Also an important point regarding movement. That is, movement in boxing is the most important thing, because it is the movements that set the overall mode. The rhythm, yes, they set the punches, the speed of the punches. It's all about the legs. It's not for nothing that they say boxers punch with their legs, because if you've learned to punch quickly with your hand, you must also approach quickly with your legs. And if the hand movement is invisible, then you must also make the leg movement invisible. Therefore, this part, when you are cutting off, yes, when you are already planting your foot, you can, well, how should I put it? More precisely, you need to feel it so well that it becomes possible to apply it in exactly those situations where it is needed. I repeat, you will have 1,000 situations where this will be modified and where you will deviate from the general form. For example, in movement, yes, if from the point of view of, say, classics, you stick to strictly established positions, then in a fight, these shifts are perhaps part of, well, a kind of illusory picture that your opponent will perceive exactly as you want. And by changing this pattern sharply, suddenly, that is, from incorrect to correct, and vice versa. That is, you hide these moments somewhere, do you understand? That is already strategy. That's why the feet are tied to the initial feint. That is what the shuttle movement is. Because to feint with your hand, well, yes, that's one thing. To feint with your body, yes. Like you're making a slip there, and from that position, you're already throwing a punch. But the most effective and most difficult thing is to make a feint with your feet. Without the shuttle movement, it is extremely difficult to do. Therefore, if you start measuring everything in a fight just with steps, know that your steps must also be just as stealthy. So it's not just forward, backward, left or right, but you can sharply change direction in all sorts of ways. And all of this needs to be, well, combined with the punch. That's why the shuttle movement is approached very precisely. That is, I repeat, until you understand the stance, until you understand how your foot works, where you can hide movement, where you can cut off that movement, how you can lunge in, jump back. These are a lot of factors. So to say definitively that the shuttle movement is just this or just that, no. It is a lot of material. Therefore, gradually, in order to absorb it, I repeat, start everything with steps. Everything from scratch, everything from scratch. Look in the mirror to see how it looks, how you look in the mirror. That is, you are training from the optic nerve. And every movement of yours is a precise calculation. It is a precise distance. I will never shuttle here at such a distance. Well, that's stupid. I'll just stop and rest. And as soon as he makes a move towards me, I'll immediately remember the shuttle, but I can do it with a step in. 1, right? That's why it's absorbed gradually. There is no single absolute standard that says, guys, do it only this way. There are many factors here. And the shuttle is set up by the coach according to individual ability, because I repeat, it won't suit everyone due to, well, certain peculiarities. So be careful. Approach this material very, very thoughtfully, but otherwise we'll get through it.